Welcome to the IAMCP Profiles and Partnership, the podcast that showcases how Microsoft partners and IAMCP members boost their business by collaborating with other members and partners. I'm your co-host, Anthony Carano. In each episode, I'll be talking to some of the most innovative and successful partners in the Microsoft ecosystem. The International Association of Microsoft Channel Partners, otherwise known as IAMCP, is a community of Microsoft partners who help each other grow and thrive. Members can find and connect with other partners locally and globally and access exclusive resources and opportunities. Whether you're looking for new customers, new markets, or new solutions, IAMCP can help you achieve your goals. We'll hear their stories, learn from their experiences, and discover the best practices and strategies they use to increase customer loyalty and grow revenues. Whether you're a new partner or an established one, you'll find valuable insights and inspiration in this podcast. We hope you enjoy this podcast and find it useful and inspiring. If you do, please subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to follow us on social media and connect with us on our website, www.profilesandpartnership.com, where you can find more information, resources, and opportunities to partner for success. Thank you for listening, and now let's get started with today's episode. But before we dive into our interview, let me ask you, how are you leveraging the IAMCP and Microsoft Partner Network to grow your business? And how are you evolving your business in order to stay relevant and continue to provide value? We dive into these questions and many others in this podcast with the help of our guest as he shares stories, challenges, and successes, as well as practical tips and advice on how to partner for success. Are you ready to join us on this journey? Then stay tuned because we have a great show for you today. Our guest is Aaron Udler, the CEO at Office Pro, an award-winning training, curriculum development, training services, and short and long-term staffing solutions provider that has trained over 1 million people with professional, high-caliber training. Let's hear what he has to say. Welcome, Aaron, to the podcast today. Really appreciate you joining us.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Excellent. Well, let's jump right in. Let's start off. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your role in the company.
Sure. I'm the president and CEO of Office Pro. We were started in 1984. My dad started the company back in those days, training on a brand new type of technology called computers. And man, have we come a long way. And so today we still do a lot of computer type training, whether it's Microsoft Office. We do a lot of break fix services in the AV space. We do help desk services, and we also provide AI training.
Oh, okay, excellent. Now, I also know, heard that you played a little football in the day.
Yeah, I played football for Indiana University. I was a walk-on. And so I walked on as a kicker. I put on about 90 pounds in 8 months and got really big and really tough and ended up switching to tight end, finished up as a tight end and just had a blast doing that. It's Big Ten football, some of the best in the country. Got great stories. And then, this past season, we had one of the best years ever in Indiana football. So it was great to be on the national stage.
So I have to ask, what's your opinion about, the new playoffs, the schedule and how all that works?
I think it's really cool. I love change. I love how they expanded it. I just felt bad for Indiana because we had to play an away game in the first round. I wish we would have had a home game, but so it goes, or maybe even a neutral site game. So I think in the future, if they go more neutral site games for that first round, it makes it a little bit more fair. But at the end of the day, I think it's super cool for the game of football.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, tell us a little bit, when did you join the IAMCP?
So I came to Office Pro and joined IAMCP both in 2013. My dad had been retired for about 10 years. He had hired someone to run the company. And so when I came in, I just got my MBA, came to Office Pro. I was like, all right, what other resources are out there? How do I learn about the industry? Found IAMCP, didn't really know much about it. And wow, what a terrific group, terrific organization. I'm glad to be a part of it.
Excellent. Before we kind of get into, the actual partner story here, can you share a little bit more about Office Pro's, areas of specialization and expertise?
Yeah, when I first started and till still to this day, our core is end user training. That's what we love to do. Word, Excel, PowerPoint, SharePoint, Teams, and so on and so on. Everything end user based. And then along the way, to keep our partnership with Microsoft, we had to do IT training. So we love doing IT training, whether it's Azure or SharePoint administrator, or we're super big now in Power BI. We love it. That's like the hottest class that we teach today. That and Excel. And that's kind of what we focus on from a training side. And then we also have a whole staffing group within Office Pro. What we do is we help partners, whether they need, if they need MCPs to provide different services to help their IT group run, or if they need AV, which is audio visual, if they need video conferencing room support, we provide help there. We provide break fix services, and we also provide AI services. So we'll talk more about the AI stuff in a little bit.
So I've got a question regarding the type of training that you do. Is it all instructor led, or are you doing a blended solution, or are you offering e-learning solutions as well?
99% of our training is instructor-led training. It's either live in person or live virtual. Since COVID, it's been more live virtual, but we're starting to see more and more folks going back into the office. So we are doing in-person training as well. We do have clients from time to time that say, "Hey, we need some custom videos. Can you, do a video on Teams, or how to create a pivot table in or create a pivot table in Excel, or how to whatever it is," right? So we do create a lot of content in house.
That's great to hear. That I noticed that you've trained over 1 million people. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, when you're a 45-year-old business, yeah, you kind of been around the block a couple times. So we've trained a lot of folks over the years.
Well, that's a lot of office training. My gosh. That's wonderful. That's wonderful that you've kept track of all that. I know how hard that is to do.
Yeah, we've done a lot of averaging and figure out what is that number. And so when we do a lot in the federal government space, and we're big in several different agencies. We've been with lots of agencies for years and years, and we continue to win recompetes. And and when we factor in how many hundreds of thousands of people within all these different agencies, they add up, and then add in the commercial side of the business, and and state and local county governments as well. So yeah, we've done a lot.
Are you on the GSA schedule or not?
Yes, yeah,
You
we're
are.
on the GSA schedule. We're on Schedule 70.
Great. Great to hear. I'm sure our partners would like to hear that too, because we have a lot of partners that do federal work outside of the DC area. So that's always great to know partners that are on GSA. So I've got a question for you, because we want to hear the story. We received your story from the IMCP headquarters, and we want to know more about this partner showcase. And can you tell us a little bit about what the project was? You don't have to tell us the client or anything else about but can you tell us about what the solution was, how you encountered this business, and then the challenges that you might have faced on this project?
Yeah, you bet. So prior to joining Office Pro, I worked for a trade association called Infocom. And Infocom is now called Avixa, but they still have a trade show called Infocom, and it's an audiovisual show, and it's all about channel sales. And that's what I understood, channel sales. And a lot of people don't understand what that is. And when I came to Office Pro, I knew that I had a small business. There were 6 full-time employees. I was the one sales guy. Everybody else was ops, and I needed to grow, and I needed help. And the only thing I knew how to do was channel sales. So what is channel sales? That's a big question that a lot of people don't understand. And what channel sales is, let's take a TV that you have at home. Let's say you have a Sony TV at home, and let's say it costs Sony $25 to make the TV. Well, then Sony will sell it to a distributor such as Cinex or Ingram Micro. There's a lot of distributors out there. They'll sell it to them for $50. And then they'll sell it to a retailer like a Best Buy or Amazon for $100. And then they'll sell it to you and I, the consumer, for $200. And everybody along the way is getting a piece of the action. And there's different salespeople within that model, within that sales channel. So everyone's making a small piece of the pie. And I knew when I came to Office Pro, I'm a small business. How am I going to be able to grow my business with just me? I'm limited. So knowing this, I went back to what I knew best, AV. And I went to an AV video conferencing show in New York. And I was at the event, I'm networking, and this guy looks at my business card and he sees that we're a Microsoft Silver Learning Partner. And he's like, oh, that's a big deal. And this is back in the fall of 2013. I'm like, yeah, I guess. I don't know. I'm new to Office Pro. I don't even know what this means that we're a silver learning partner. And I'm like, it sounds pretty cool. Sure. Yeah. I mean, it is a big deal. And so I start talking to this guy, and he works for a VAR. A VAR is a value added reseller, which is kind of like a distributor. It's kind of like a retailer. The VARs mainly sell to end users, to pharmaceutical companies and big Fortune 500 type companies, to kind of give you an idea. And a VAR is a value-added reseller. And so what I did with him was, I was just tried to sell him over and over, and I called him all the time. And finally, he's like, hey, we're doing there's a hospital in Chicago. They need some Skype for Business. I'm sorry, not Skype for Business. I think it was Microsoft Link 2013 training. Can you go train the super users on how to use it? Sure. So he's like, there's just 10 people going to be in the training. It's going to be virtual. And I was like, great, sure, we'll do it, dude. So we go do this training, and they loved it so much that they said, hey, we want to train the other 200 workers at the hospital. I was like, okay, great. So we proved ourselves to this VAR, and I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. And this is back in, I don't know, probably middle of 2014. And this guy keeps on calling me literally for the next 12 months. Hey, I need an outline for, now Skype for Business, or I need an outline for this or that, whatever it is. And finally, I was like, bro, you keep on calling me. You're a nice person, but you're wasting my time. I keep on sending you outlines. I keep on getting you quotes. I'm not getting anywhere. And all he said was, Aaron, stick with me. I'm like, okay, sure. So we get to about a week or two before Thanksgiving in 2015, and he says, hey, and he names this big pharmaceutical company. And he's like, hey, these guys are rolling out Skype for Business. I'm like, great. Who is that company? I'd never heard of them before. He's like, dude, come on, bro. And so I Google the company, and they're like, at the time, like, I don't know, a $20 or $30 billion company. He's like, come meet me out at their headquarters in the LA area. I was like, okay. So I fly out to LA, and I meet up with them and we go to this farm, and we find out that they've got, I don't know, it was like 10 or 15,000 users on site. They're rolling out Skype for Business. They have some Polycom video conferencing solutions. They've got some Crestron hardware. Crestron does, they have a product called Air Media, which is wireless screen sharing, and it's manufacturer agnostic, meaning you can have a Droid, you can have an iPhone, you can have a PC, you can have a Mac. It doesn't matter. You can wirelessly screen share in the conference room. And they said, hey, we need to train everybody. Can you create the training content and train all 10 to 15,000 users? I was like, yeah, sure, we can do this with our eyes closed. Needless to say, we had never done any AV training before, but we're a small business, and my background's AV. So I called up my buddies that I used to work with at Infocom, like, hey guys, can you help me out with this? And so we came up with this whole training plan. And along the way, we do this training, and next thing you know, we're like a big deal in the training space, in both AV and in the Microsoft community, because we got this contract through the channel. Now, this channel was really bizarro. It was a bigger channel than kind of what I mentioned earlier, because we had the end user, which sold to a change management company. The change management company sold to the VAR that I mentioned earlier, who's also a Microsoft partner, who's a part of IAMCP. They sold to us Office Pro. And of course, Office Pro, we're a small business. We had lots of subs on this as well, to make sure we had a successful project. And we had a super successful campaign with this project. We still do work for this company today. Again, this is big pharma. Multiple times over the years, this pharma has come to us and said, hey, Aaron, we want to work with you directly. And 100% of the times, every time I said no. And they always say, why? We're going to throw you millions of dollars. And I'm like, well, you know what? It's not honest. And they're like, well, what do you mean? It's like, well, I wouldn't have been at this party to provide you all these good services if it wasn't for the channel. And I learned in life that your integrity is like your virginity. You only can lose it one time. And I'm not going to lose it. And it's not worth it to make a couple extra bucks, because I'd rather get all the other clients within that channel system, right? So I can do training for all the other clients that are in there. And sure enough, we've been rewarded, and we do training for all their other clients within the VAR community. So the first time that you take this extra money is the first time you ruin the channel, and everybody sees you, and they're like, all right. Office Pro violated the channel. We're not going to work with you. I didn't want to have to go through that. So
Well, that's great story to hear because that's one of the mantras of the IAMCP is about doing business ethically and building trust relationships. So that's an excellent story to tell. So is your friend retired at this company because you've made him a lot of money, or what?
I wish he actually left the company to go work from a several $100 million VAR to a Fortune 10 type company. So he's really grown in his career as well. So it's been a win-win.
Well, that's great to hear. No, I know what it's like to build those channel relationships, and having been in your business before, I've seen all my friends retire, and it's like you build those relationships at these companies, and it's always good to learn who are their successors are. So you're trying to make it work.
Yeah.
Anthony, do you have some questions?
Yeah. So when you were working, with this SI to serve the larger pharmaceutical company, what were some just things like during the course of the engagement that you would say were really important as some best practices to make it a successful engagement?
Yeah, I have a saying at Office Pro: communication wins championships. Firm believer in that. You got to get everything documented. You got to, repeat, repeat, repeat. You got to say things over and over and over again. When we started doing the conference room training, we ran into an issue, and it wasn't with the SI per se, but keep in mind that there was another change management company. We ran into an issue with them, and what happened was we're doing these trainings in these small conference rooms, and there's only 4 chairs in there. But the change management company were doing tours of their of this new building and this new office space with 30 to 40 people in a group. Well, you can't fit 30 or 40 people in a 4-person conference room. Maybe you can get 6, maybe 7, right? And so, we started getting we got a bad review from both the end user and our VAR, our system integrator, saying, "Hey, what the hell's going on here? Your training's not good." I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do, right? I've got 30 or 40 people in a 4-person conference room. This is beyond my control. I need some help here. Can you help? Right? We went through this in all the review process, and the channel partner that was the change management company, they made changes at the last minute, didn't tell me. Right. And that's communication 101. You got to tell me and make me prepared so we can make adjustments. Maybe we'd go into a larger conference room, and they did have larger conference rooms, right? We'd adjust the tour. So it just goes back to communication.
That's good. I'm smiling here because usually isn't it defense wins championships? Coming from a former Big Ten college football player, but communication wins championships. So I like it. What about so on the other side of that? Like, what were some of the challenges that you all experienced during the engagement, and how did you work together to overcome that? In addition to communication, like what some things that you had to kind of work through.
Yeah, the human aspect about, you expect labor to be on site and somebody calls out sick last minute. What do? You got to figure it out. I remember telling my wife, I mean, for us, it was a big contract, and we had someone call out sick the day before. I live in Washington, D.C., and the client's out in L.A., and at 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I went to go book a flight to go, for a 6 o'clock flight to go to L.A. And my wife's like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And I'm like, well, I got to make sure we run this training successfully tomorrow. I'm thrown into action. Things like that happen. I remember one of my first sales jobs, my sales manager said to me, this is when I was right out of college, he said, "If you don't hit your quota for the month, what's your backup plan?" Right. And that's stuck with me, to this day. If I'm not hitting my numbers, or if I've got someone that's supposed to be on site, what's my backup plan? That's so important. So that was one of the biggest challenges. One of the other challenges we faced, and is that from a payment perspective, I remember the channel partner wasn't paying us. They owed us $250,000, and I was freaking out. And they were 90 days past due, and I had all my credit cards maxed, and I didn't have a bucket to poop in, so to say. So I was like, all right, what do I do? So I literally had to call them up. I'm like, guys, look, I got my bills to pay. I got people to pay. I got my credit cards maxed out. I'm almost out of my personal cash. And they're
Man.
then they said, you know what? I'm glad you communicated to me. Go ahead and send us what do you call it? Send us, your invoice again. And they overnighted me a check, right, for $250,000. And ever since that time, I haven't had to worry about money since, because that was able to propel me to the next level, hire the right people. I had to pay off everybody I needed to. It got me out of debt. And I haven't really had to worry about money since.
That's fantastic. That is awesome.
So, Aaron, in working on a large project like this, getting keeping track of customer satisfaction and how there's a lot of logistics that you've got to deal with, because you've got two customers. You've got a customer, the person who introduced you to the event, who's probably the prime on this, as well as the end user customer. And there's a lot of logistics in the training business, especially on a large corporate project. Can you tell us a little bit about how you handle those types of things? Because there's a lot of logistics that have to get handled and just a lot of tracking.
Yeah, no, you bet. So when we first got the contract, the system integrator, they wanted to make sure this was white labeled or private labeled, meaning they wanted their brand. They didn't want the Office Pro brand on it. So what they did was they assigned us email addresses to their domain. So, my email address was audler@theirdomain.com. Fine. So we were in the loop every step of the way. They were monitoring all of our correspondence. And so if there was a mistake made, yeah, you bet we would know about it, right? If we had success, yeah, we'd know about it. It's always fun to get those success emails saying, oh, John Doe, said training was terrific. It was really good. After a while, what happened was people would want to hit us up on LinkedIn. They'd say, oh, Aaron, we see that you're with Office Pro, not the system integrator. What's going on? And then we'd explain it, and they'd be like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. Nobody really cared that much. But it was just mainly for the system integrator to track. But yeah, we would always, after every training session, we provide a customer or rather a student evaluation to see how we did. Right? Did you learn more, what did you learn in the class today? Do you feel that the training today on Skype for Business and Polycom Trio, whatever whatever we were training on, did you, what was your knowledge before the training? What was your knowledge after the training? What did you like most about the class? What did you like least about the class? So, and we would take all these surveys and just compile them together and give it back to both the channel, to the two channel partners and the end user, so that they knew what was going on. Because again, transparency is super key. And if we're making mistakes or if we're missing something, we got to know about it. So that's kind of what happened. Along the way, which was kind of flattering too, is that our system integrator, there was another proposal that came out, and they lost that proposal to one of their competitors. Well, the end user ended up saying to that competitor, hey, we love working with Office Pro. They know the right way of running training. They know the right way of staffing this. You need to work with these guys, and we're not going to accept anything else. Because they understood the channel and I understood the channel, and I'm not going to go direct and violate that. And so next thing you know, I'm working with this, a much bigger, system integrator, and we're providing the same services to the same pharmaceutical company. So ended up working really nicely. And because of that, because they were voluntold to work with us, now we're doing more business with that second system integrator. And next thing you know, we're marketing to everyone's competitors and blah, blah, blah. So we're a sub on a lot of different projects these days.
Wow, that's great to hear. That's great to hear. So are you still the only salesperson for your company, or have you trained other people to do some of these things?
Yeah, no, I've trained other people. So we split our company up into, we've got our government we've got our government training or end user training department. I got someone that manages that from a sales perspective. And then on the AV side of the business, I got someone that manages that in terms of selling, and we kind of tag team it. But yeah, there's multiple people now.
So are you working still primarily with the IAMCP chapter there in Washington, D.C., or have you connected with other IAMCP members across the country?
Yeah, I've connected with other IAMCP members across the country. Unfortunately, I think the DC chapter folded, as we're part of the national chapter right now of IAMCP. I am the leader, though, of the Washington DC Microsoft Teams user group, which is a 501c3. So I'm running that for the DC area. So it's kind of like IAMCP for DC. For the DC area, but not really. It's just a focus on Microsoft Teams. But I loved during COVID when we had the national conventions. I think it was I forgot what they called it, the Microsoft conventions, whatever they were called. I remember being in some of the meetings and hearing, let's say, a speaker, and I'm looking at the attendees in the meeting. I'd be like, oh, this person's a trainer. And I reached out to this gal, and next thing you know, she's a trainer with us. Or I reached out to this other guy, and he owned an LMS training company out of Toronto. And, both these guys are in the IAMCP community. They're in the Microsoft channel community. And we're partnering with those guys. And it's one of those where you got to make yourself available, and you got to put yourself out there and take a risk on people and see their work, interviewing. You got to know what the needs of your company are to help you grow. And we've been able to grow with partners. It's a beautiful thing that, this ecosystem that we have. I love it.
So you've mentioned a lot of end user type training. Have you jumped into the more technical areas? Like, I think you mentioned Azure as well. And have you moved into, can you tell us a little bit about what your other product areas are?
Yeah, so we're doing a lot right now with Power BI is huge right now in the government, especially in the government space. We do a lot for different government agencies. Take NIH for example. I'll name those guys because they deal with health on a regular basis. And can you imagine the number of columns and rows of data that they have for whatever diseases are out there, or medications, whatever it is? So we're helping those guys, work in Power BI and create dashboards and things like that. Azure is super big right now in the federal government space, and we do a lot of DoD work. And so when we work with DoD, it's funny because our troops are always moving around the world, right? They're protecting us. So nailing down dates can sometimes be challenging, but we do a lot of Azure training in the government space. AI is big too, right? You've got different AI courses that Microsoft's come out with. Unfortunately, Copilot, it's not in the government space yet. It's coming though. It's not part of GCC High. We're waiting for that, but we're doing Copilot training more in the enterprise space right now. And then we're doing, basic AI training for different federal agencies. One of the cool things, I think that, not to get too political, but one of the cool things that I think President Biden was able to implement during his presidency was an AI agency. So there's AI.gov. And so AI right now, I think we can all agree, is kind of like the wild, wild west. And this is the first time that that industry has come to the government and said, hey, we need some regulations around that. Can you put something together? So the Biden administration put something together, and every federal agency has to put together a certain amount of content and leave it in the public domain in terms of how they're using AI. And so we've been able to come into the agencies and say, hey, this is how you write prompts, chat prompts correctly using ChatGPT, or hey, this is your agency's policy on using ChatGPT. What do you put into it? What do you not put into it? Because we got to remind folks that whatever you put into ChatGPT, that goes into the public domain. So you want to be very careful what you put into it. Some agencies, they encourage people to sign up for ChatGPT with their government email address, and some say, no, please use your Gmail address or Hotmail address or a non-government related address. So every agency is still trying to figure it out. They do have guidance from the AI.gov agency. I don't know what that agency is off the top of my head, but there are rules and regulations coming out for that. So it's really cool what I think is happening in today's day and age.
Yeah, that's one of the things I stress about with, I have friends who work for a large Texas state agency. And we were having lunch the other day. We were talking about, hey, have you all deployed ChatGPT or Copilot in your organization? This is about over 100,000 people that work at this agency. And they said, yes, but it got issued without rules. And now we just have chaos. And so that's what will happen if you don't train people to use the products with the specific purpose and security. Which leads me to another question. Have you moved into anything in the security world at all?
We're doing a little bit in security. We do a little bit of, I forgot the name of the Microsoft course. I think it's like MS 500 or SC 500. We do a little bit of training on that, but for the most part, that's not our bag. It's just when companies specifically say, hey, can you guys do security training? We'll help them. We've got a whole network of instructors that we help out with. But again, it's not our specialty.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. Anthony, turn it back over to you.
Just to even backtrack a little bit. So I'd like to kind of get your perspective on what you're seeing as how, because you work with enterprises, you also work with federal government. How are they approaching it AI differently, and how are they approaching it the same?
We'll start with the same. Both the government and enterprise are excited about AI. They're ecstatic. They're like, wow, like I didn't know I could, write an email to a dissatisfied customer in like 30 seconds. I can take their email, put it into an AI platform like ChatGPT, and have it completely turned around. Like everybody's super stoked about that part of it, right? The government is there's been a stereotype of the government for years that they're anywhere from 5 to 10 years behind industry, right? And I think that's still the case. AI's been out for several years now, but it's becoming more mainstream, right? The media's picked up on it. They're putting it in front of us on a daily basis. But the government is just much slower to react. Small business is more quick to react because I'm a small business guy, right? We can pivot really quickly. Bigger business, enterprise, those guys have I don't want to use the term tons and tons of money, but I think they've got tons and tons of money because they're able to put together that plan pretty concise and put it together very quickly. They have access to Copilot, right? The federal government's not there yet. It's not part of their program. So I mean, those are some of the differences, but I think at the end of the day, everyone is just super excited about AI.
What about then, since you work in both with both spaces, what lessons have you learned from working with both the enterprise clients and the government entities that can benefit other like smaller partners?
Yeah, it goes back to communication, right? You got to sit down with the customer. You got to explain to it what AI is. You got to do demos of it. You got to make sure that they're comfortable with it. One of the things I do from a sales perspective is especially when people are nervous, is I want to create an environment that's safe for them to make a mistake, right? We're human. That's adult learning theory. It's okay to make a mistake in training. So when I meet with somebody, I'll be like, hey, you know what? Have you opened up chatgpt.com yet? No. Or have you tried Copilot? No. Well, you know what? We've got a training account at Office Pro. Why don't you log in with our training credentials to our Microsoft ecosystem and give it a shot. Let's create a PowerPoint presentation with Copilot. Let's ask ChatGPT to write a love letter to your spouse or significant other or whatever, right? There's so many cool things. One of the things that my staff loves is that my son, and I'm sure he's going to hear this recording in several years, but his mom or my wife, she was out of town and my son lost a tooth. And my wife said, hey, Aaron, you got to write a note from the tooth fairy to our son. I'm like, I don't know what the hell to write. So I go to ChatGPT and I type in, hi, ChatGPT, can you help me write a note from the tooth fairy to my son? He just lost his first two teeth on the same day. I have no idea what to say. Can you help me out? And sure enough, ChatGPT said, yeah, hey, let's use this. And the email started off, or the note started off with, Dear Brave Tooth Explorer. Wow, what a wonderful occasion for you to, lose two teeth on the same day. And it just goes on for 2 or 3 paragraphs. Yeah. And I was like, you know what, ChatGPT, can you make this, 6 sentences in total, not 3 paragraphs? Yeah. So it was, it was super cool that, I was able to get these, I was able to get these notes to my son because, again, I don't know what the heck to write for that.
You should go back to that for the next time, and then just after you write you get like the main like the message that you want, but then go back and say, rewrite this as and put in like X character celebrity persona type in there, and then it'll reformat rewrite it in that voice.
Yes. Yeah. I've done that before with, or I've taken like an Excel, I said, hey, can you write me an Excel pivot table lesson in the voice of Dr. Seuss? Next thing you know, all the words are rhyming with each other. It is really cool.
You should do it in the voice of Yoda. That would be awesome.
I love that. That's a great idea.
Well, Aaron, your son's going to learn that the tooth fairy didn't exist and ChatGPT is just a dream crusher, right?
That's it.
So, you've told us this great story. How do you How are you planning on working with more and more partners and finding more VARs that you want to work with? We've talked about reaching out to other IMCP partners. What's part of your business plan to continue this? And also, as the market keeps evolving, what are you doing to evolve your business?
Yeah. So from a growth standpoint, I continue to go to all the different events that are out there. There's great industry events from all the Microsoft shows to shows like Enterprise Connect or Consumer Electronics Show or Infocom, or I don't know. There's like a zillion different events out there. So I think from our standpoint, we know what shows to go to. But for other small business partners, hey, figure out what your niche, what is your niche, and what industry events can you go to, and where can you put yourself in front of other partners that could help you out. I think that's always important. One of the things that we've been doing is, I'm always trying to think ahead, right? Where's the industry going? And so from a Power BI's perspective, we were able to recognize that, hey, Power BI is going to be something special. We need to invest money into it. So I got my full-time instructor certified in it. We're training it. We've created our own content to complement Microsoft's training content. That's been big. We saw a need in the federal government space. You heard me speak earlier about ChatGPT and training federal government employees on how to use AI. We think that was a big deal. So we invested a ton of money and resources and time to create our own training content. And then to put icing on the cake, about 6 or 8 months ago, we bought a website called AIHeadshotMasters.com. And what that site is, it's AI generated selfies of yourself. So the way the site works is that you take 10 selfies of yourself, you upload them to our site. Once you upload them to our site, the pictures get sent to what's called a GPU, a graphical processing unit. And within 30 minutes, you'll have 100 pictures with 13 different backgrounds of yourself. And they're really cool to use for LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever. If you look at my my LinkedIn photo, that's my picture. It's an AI generated photo. It's AI, right? It goofs up your fingers or limbs sometimes, but you have 100 pictures to choose from, and it's really cool. And what we're primarily doing with this site is selling it we're actually giving it away for free for companies that sign up for AI training with us, because we think it's cool. Hey, you know what? You're going to learn about AI training, and let's get some cool pictures in front of you. But we also sell it to workforce agencies because we see a big need in workforce development where people need to have their hair done or their makeup or their beards trimmed, or they need nice clothes or good backgrounds, whatever it is. And this is something that job seekers can do in the comfort of their own homes. So the workforce agencies don't have to hire a photographer to come into the office and then hope that all the folks looking for jobs need to then go to the workforce agencies' offices. So it's kind of a cool thing that we're doing. We enjoy it. It's a lot of fun, and I highly recommend you guys check that out as well.
So you haven't worked that into when students come in before training and after training yet, and give them their headshots there?
Well, we've done it mainly for clients that when they buy the AI training, they get a free code to go to the website, and it reduces the cost down to zero so they can give it a shot. But no, we're very careful. We don't want to overly sell in our private classes to the clients that have not specifically asked for it.
That's good to hear. No, that's a great product or great service that you have there, especially with workforce development. That really, really works well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, those guys are super, super stoked about it. So it's fun to see, the smile on people's faces when, they realize, wow, I didn't even know that green dress existed, or man, I look great in a suit. And, they don't necessarily own a suit because they're in between jobs and they can't afford a new suit or whatever. But it's their image, and that's what we as people buy when we're trying to hire somebody. We want to see somebody look sharp.
I didn't realize when I was doing research and obviously looking at your LinkedIn profile that was your photo was AI generated. So it does a really good job. I mean, it doesn't really look fake or cartoonish or anything like that. So that was pretty impressive.
I got a question for you regarding workforce development training. Have you worked through any colleges or universities or community colleges to deliver some workforce development training? The reason I'm asking, because we need to talk after this. I'm aware of a grant here in Texas that is $17 million for workforce AI training for workforce development. just so we can talk later.
Interesting. Yeah, no, thanks for that info. Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of work with different colleges within the state of Maryland, and we're big fans of the MOS certification, which is Microsoft Office Specialist, right? So if somebody wants to get a Microsoft certification in Word, Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint, or Access, you can get a certification in it. And Office Pro is one of the top 2, top 3 companies in America that are doing all the exams for it. We're proctoring for it. So it's a really cool service that we offer. And so we've partnered with different colleges where we can both teach them how to use Excel and teach them and proctor the exam. One of the reasons why I think this exam is important, especially Excel, is that most students today, at least in the state of Maryland, they're being taught Google. And I'm all for free market capitalism and having competition with Microsoft. But when you have 80% of businesses in the entire world that are on the Microsoft ecosystem, I think the school systems need to teach that. And I don't think the school systems, at least in the state of Maryland, are doing a good job because they are on Google. And I understand the reasons why. And those reasons are mainly because Chromebooks are $100. And I don't think Microsoft has come out with a lower expensive computer yet. But again, I think we're doing a disservice to the students if they're not learning the Microsoft ecosystem in addition to the Google. So we partnered with different colleges in the state of Maryland where we're doing that, where we're teaching them how to use Microsoft Excel, and then the students are getting their MOS certification in Excel. So it's been really cool to see that because there are a lot of jobs out there that do require the MOS certification in Excel.
Are they going to incorporate Copilot into that anytime soon, or have you heard anything from Microsoft regarding that?
I haven't heard anything from Microsoft on that yet, but I could see that coming out soon. I mean, it would be a great certification.
Yeah, it would. It certainly would. Anthony, back to you.
Yeah, this has been fantastic, Aaron. Really appreciate your insights and perspectives. How can folks find out, or where can they go to find out more about you and connect?
Yeah, feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn, Aaron Udler. I spell my name just like Aaron in the Bible, Aaron, and my last name's Udler, Udler. Hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm on there pretty often. I've always got posts on there about training and AI. But if you're ever in the DC area, hit me up. Let's grab a beer. I'm open to meet just about anybody.
Excellent. Well, definitely. I know my wife and I love DC, so I'll have to take you up on that.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Excellent. Well, you have a great rest of the day. Appreciate you being on.
Cool. Thanks. Thank you guys. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Aaron.
Well, that was a fantastic episode. I really enjoyed having Aaron on. I mean, he was so conversational, had a lot of really great insights. I know in particular, the one thing I appreciate, especially I thought it was so cool. I mean, he was a former, Big Ten football player, and the fact that he talked a lot about communication wins championships, and just how the importance of, communication, and just being very intentional, about, repeating those points just to make sure that your message gets through. So I really appreciated that. Being a coach, always preaching, defense wins championships. I think I'm going to slip that in there, that communication wins championships for sure.
Oh, that'll definitely help.
Well, I know because you played, college ball as well. So I'm sure, I know everyone says defense wins championships, but that communication, I'm sure that helps too, huh?
It really does. I mean, when your coaches communicate everything they expect and what they want you to do and how you do it and communicating with your teammates, it really rings true. It really rings true. Well, what I appreciated about Aaron was his forthrightness and stuff about how, he had worked out in industry before coming back to his family business, and how he had to reshift the focus of the family business. It was a small business with only 6 employees, and then how he changed the whole focus of the business and how that business kind of took off on them. And he did that by building trust relationships out in the channel, which really helped. And that's and dedicated, serving those markets and turning that around and leveraging the experience he had from being in the channel and understanding how building a channel worked and building relationships worked. And they used that to grow their business. And it turned into something where, now they've trained over 1 million people over the years. So it's really exciting to learn that. And I think there's, he had several other stories about working in the channel. And I think you have some comments on that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it was really fascinating too, especially them being a smaller partner connecting with a mid-sized partner to sell into an enterprise, multi billion dollar, pharmaceutical company, and create such an opportunity. But the thing that he talked about, just the importance of, honoring the channel and really respecting the relationships, and that there was an opportunity where, and it's not like the client was doing anything wrong or insidious. They really liked the work that they did. So he went direct, after the engagement was done to see if they can do more work for them. And he was like, I can, but I'm not going to cut out my partner. And, to your point that, one of those aspects of those, those trust relationships is that it's important, not only, just to be delivering during the course of the engagement and communicating, but then even maintaining your integrity post-engagement and really respecting that relationship. Because that's something that, word spreads quick, right, in the community, both good and bad. And just to not try and grab, the easy money or grab more money, but, respect that and honor that relationship, and have that long view when it comes to, having partners. So I thought that was really fantastic.
No, it really was. And that really hit home, because that's part of what the IAMCP preaches, is about building strong business partnerships and trust relationships. And he really epitomizes the value of those relationships. So I thought that was a really good story from Aaron. It really was. We want to thank all of you for joining us on this episode of IMCP Profiles in Partnership today, powered by Dunamis Marketing. We hope you enjoyed this podcast and find it useful and inspiring. If you did, please subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. One of the best ways to partner for success is to join IAMCP, a community of Microsoft partners who help each other grow and thrive. IAMCP members can find and connect with other partners locally and globally and access exclusive resources and opportunities. Whether you're looking for new customers, new markets, or new solutions, IAMCP can help you achieve your goals. To learn more, visit the website at www.iamcp.org.